All right, it is time for our Rush Hour Roundtable. We want to welcome our panelists today. We are working to get Julia Manchester. We're having some issues with her connection, but Julia is a writer for The Hill. She'll be joining us in a bit, hopefully. Tony Katz, a syndicated radio host based out of Indianapolis, and Laura Fink, a Democratic strategist with Rebel Communications. And so today we are talking about money. If you listen to President Biden, things sound pretty good right now. Let's listen.
Over the last 3 months, the economy has created more than 500,000, more than 500,000 jobs a month. Over the course of my presidency, our recovery has now created 7.9 million jobs. More jobs created over the first 14 months of any presidency in any term ever. And that's striking.
All right. So a new survey, though, shows 3 out of 5 Americans, that is 60% of Americans, say they've woken up in the middle of the night thinking about their finances. This is really just one example of the mixed messages we see about how good our economy is versus how good people actually feel about their bank accounts. So for the roundtable, the big question right now, should administrations paint an optimistic view of the economy, or is that tone deaf to Americans who are struggling? Laura, we'll start with you. Should the administration make things seem like they're okay if things really are not okay for all Americans?
Well, I think you didn't hear it in that one clip, but I think the president and the administration has been very empathetic to the needs of working families precisely because they know that inflation is a challenge. But it exists, that the economy is strong, which should give Americans hope that as the pandemic recedes and as the conflict in Russia fades away, those prices are going to come down. So it's really about building hope and solidarity and common cause amid a really terrible pandemic and now the ongoing global crisis. And I think you have to hit that tone to say, hey, we made it through this far, we're going to beat inflation next. And I think that's what you see the president doing and what you see the administration, that note that they're trying to hit in between those two things.
All right. So, Tony, do you agree? I mean, should the administration be painting an optimistic view if it's not necessarily so optimistic for all?
I think we're utilizing the wrong word. Optimistic is not it. Hopeful is it. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? What can we achieve? How can we grow? That's not happening from this administration, and it comes from a total lack of respect, a real disrespect of the American worker. This gas price conversation is not because of the invasion of Ukraine. It went up $1 under Joe Biden because of poor policy. When we take a look at the idea that he wants to claim that jobs were created, hold on, jobs were not created. People going back to work, that's not jobs. By creating jobs by any stretch of the imagination. There were no jobs created if you take a look across the country. People going back to work is a different subject. So the problem is not that he doesn't have an optimistic message. He is starting by lying to the American people. You can't be an optimist if you start by lying.
All right. So we just heard right there, Laura. So people going back to work, Tony is saying, is not creating jobs. And he's saying this is disrespectful of the American worker to try to paint this optimistic picture.
Well, I don't think, like I said, I think what he got right is that you do have to be hopeful. And in that, you need to unite in common cause and acknowledge the challenges that Americans have overcome together with respect to the pandemic, with respect to the economy. And yes, they are getting back to work, but by that measure, jobs are never created. So I don't really understand the math there. The reality is the fundamentals of the economy are strong, and we have to acknowledge the fact that the prices at the pump are hard, not something the president can really control. Although President Biden is doing everything he can, releasing the largest ever amount of from our strategic petroleum reserve. But this is something that's a global challenge, not something the president controls. Although those people that want to capitalize on it will say that. So I do understand my colleagues leaning in as the opposition. So I understand it, but it's not really the reality Americans are facing. And I think you can have empathy and have hope at the same time.
Well, I want to provide some more statistics statistics here. So let's. I know we have a consumer spending graph that will show that consumer spending is down since January. Obviously, inflation is at historic highs. We know that there's been an increase in rent prices, up 15% in a month, an increase in home prices. Those rose nearly 16% to a record of nearly $400,000. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.